Chuck Thompson here, Director of World Emergency. All emergency management agencies are guaranteed success financing disasters with the Watchmen Program. Disasters within the state or the various cities throughout the state will have guaranteed funds ready for them in the direct city for the funds to be allocated to that disaster that encompasses that city or many other cities, such as you were affected by Sandy. And I believe that 67 million of the funds that were asked for the federal government were denied. But the Watchmen Program can provide all 67 million immediately. All of those funds will already have been put away for this rainy day. You mentioned the state-of-the-art facility that FEMA, that Homeland Security has within the state of Florida, and many states, cities such as Chicago and California, the state, and Los Angeles in the city, and various other the major cities, San Francisco and San Diego, also have these state-of-the-art facilities. However, within the disaster, they are not for the citizens in the city, they're for the workers of the management agency, the Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, Homeland Security, CDC, and other agencies. And you also mentioned that a state-of-the-art facility will withstand about 250 miles per hour winds. Well, if there's a dirty bomb or a chemical attack, such as what happened in the Tom Daschle office, it took about a year and a half to clean up that facility. Now, no workers, no employees, no work was done throughout that facility. And that was just one small little office, let alone a state-of-the-art facility, as you spoke of within Florida, as Illinois have in Chicago, as Los Angeles has in California. These facilities will be rendered useless if such an attack comes in that area. No personnel will be able to come or go. We also discussed 9/11, and I don't know whether we were cut off at this time, but 9/11 is actually a perfect example of having the management agent's office, the headquarters to conduct emergency disasters, was actually in the World Trade Center building. The reason why a lot of the police and fire departments set up their headquarters within, because it was already established for that to be. Yet that was the very target of our enemies. And if they had a remote site of these portable emergency economic job training centers, where these communication centers will be set up off the grid, ready to be moved to place to actually serve the citizens, to be mobile in an emergency disaster, where there's an earthquake or a fire or a flood or civil unrest is taking place, you can actually move these facilities to those disaster areas where the citizens need the help. Moreover, there will be other portable, renewable offices, such as water and bakery units, where food and water can be distributed to the citizens in need. These facilities are revenue facilities because they will earn the financial dollars that the city needs in an emergency disaster, with the various emergency kits that are sold by the police department, fire department, search and rescue teams, FEMA, Homeland Security, and other agencies. Even the Department of Water and Power will have its Water and Power kit, a renewable energy kit that can easily move up to any facility that is on the grid, take it off the grid, and run all of the emergency applications, electrical equipment and supplies and computers and lights within those facilities on renewable energy systems, which simply having a water and power kit that rolls up to that facility and making it a zero grid green renewable energy facility. Those dollars purchased by corporations and companies and citizens in those cities, including agencies on a global scale, will provide the revenues needed, let alone the sponsored dollars that continue to come in from the corporation of where these centers are placed, such as Home Depot, Lowe's Department Store, Sears, and Target. So where these emergency management agency facilities stand, they will provide the revenues for the state-of-the-art 250 wind per hour disaster unit where all the employees are. But to get to know the citizens in these cities and to have the pulse of these neighborhoods, those same workers that work within that state-of-the-art should spread out into these satellite units where they can hand out the pamphlets and the booklets on what to do and how to do an emergency disaster or terrorist attack or threat, where not only the first but the second and the third responders are trained, and the volunteers, because as you know, in the disaster regarding Katrina, a lot of the first responders did not respond. They cared more about their family members, which is understandable. Human nature acts differently within these disastrous situations. And so therefore you need a second and a third and a fourth backup. You need the community to, of course, be able to pitch in the absence of some first responders not responding and taking care of the community as well as their loved ones. Moreover, these facilities, again, not only will generate revenue for FEMA, for Homeland Security, for the CDC, for the police department and the fire department. As you know, in many cities throughout the states within the Union, the police department are on various corners, neighborhoods, with their booths, asking for donations and funds for not only their fire department, but other activities that they are involved in providing the needs of the community. This will no longer need be, because the funds will be generated within these portable emergency economic job training centers set up in every city and state throughout the Union. Now the goal is to establish 10,000 of these portable economic job training centers across the nation. Now, we start in Florida, we start in New York, we start in the middle of the country in Chicago as well as Washington, D.C. Then we go to the end of the country, California, of course, Nevada, as well as Arizona and other cities and states within the West. And we build from the ends of the nation and we come inward. The 2,500 some odd cities and towns that are already established within the United States. Now, if we establish 4 per city or town, then that would be the 10,000. But some cities are small enough where they only need 1, or they can share with another town. Yet, California, New York, they probably need 100 or more. And this is where we get this 10,000 figure. Now, 10,000 emergency economic jobs training centers will house about 200 workers for the center itself, but another 500 to 800 workers for the outskirts of it and all of the various equipment and supplies and vendors that will work in and around these facilities. We believe that 1,000 per facility is a conservative number of needed new employees. Therefore, if we establish 1,000 employees in each one of these emergency economic job training information centers, and we establish 10,000 throughout the nation, that is 10 million new workers. We also estimate that at least $100 million will be generated for each one of these facilities. 100 million times 10,000 is $1 trillion. Again, we believe this is a conservative estimate, because it not only will generate the income domestically, but it will also generate it internationally. We will establish them within the 280 consulate offices and embassies that we have around the world, setting up the same system where the communities in those areas around the world internationally will see these facilities off the grid renewable energy units. A display of a home, a school, an office, an emergency medical unit, and a portable farm will be on display for those countries to purchase directly from the United States. And that gets me to the manufacturing part of this Watchmen program. Home Depot, Lowe's department store, Sears, Target, and other department stores will sponsor these facilities. Each facility costs approximately $8.4 million US dollars, up to 12.6 if we have the other amenities placed within. However, the corporation that sponsors it will have a construction company partner up with a community college or a university or a higher learning facility, where the students get paid directly for working and building these new facilities, this technology, these renewable energy centers. Therefore, the students will have enough funds for their own tuitions. And the higher learning facility will also receive sponsorship dollars from the construction company, because they're building the facility on their facility, on the college campus itself, where all students can view the new technology and new entrepreneurships can be sponsored and generated throughout the various cities and the states within our union. New technologies, because 30% of the funds go to the city that are generated of new revenue, 30% to the state, and 30% of all the states go to the federal government. Now, 10% of all will go back into the facilities to build them up, to renovate them, to put the new innovative ideas directly from the students who built and manufactured them in the first place. Therefore, that 10% that the city put aside, and the 10% that was put aside by the state, and the 10% that's put aside by the federal government, will go directly into the funding of renovating all these facilities and bringing them up to date and online. And again, since every major city will have these facilities, if there is a national disaster or a dirty bomb where all communications go out. And again, let us not forget, portable farms is a new industry, an industry that is badly needed. Half of the states throughout America is in some form of drought or famine situation, according to the Department of Agriculture, and have already declared national disasters within those cities and states throughout the Union. Therefore, the funding from the portable farms that will be established and built, the renewable energy portable farms, which harvest fish and produce on top of these 20-foot to 40-foot container systems, which are built on the college campuses from the construction company, sponsored by Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's department store, which they sponsor it because they receive the financial dollars. Because all that you see in the parking lot structures, you'll be able to purchase within these facilities. And that's why I need your management office to also establish a relationship with those sponsors, Home Depot, Lowe's department store, Sears, and Target throughout the community, whereas they establish these emergency economic job training information community management agency facilities on their property, where the magnet of opportunity and activity begins, from the citizens who flock to their stores to purchase their goods and services, but they have a new industry, a new industry to purchase a home that is portable, that you can move from place to place, where they'll be able to purchase an office, an emergency medical facility, a portable school. Now, think of all of the schools right now that are desperately needing new innovative classrooms where the students themselves will be able to see this new technology. As a matter of fact, we recommend that the high school students, those who are senior age, flock to the higher learning facilities being acclimated into the new colleges and trade higher learning facilities, where they will see this new technology up front and of course work on it with the college students direct. The new generation of our children, the citizens within the cities and states, will have built-in careers, built-in entrepreneurships with which they will establish. And of course, we pay off the enormous debt that a lot of the cities throughout various states are complaining bankruptcy, as we of course have in Detroit, as we have in many cities within the state of California, and that's just the beginning. Yet every city and state will be able to reconcile their books and get into the black, because all of their services, the police department, fire department, search and rescue teams, and other vital services that they provide for the citizens within these cities will be totally and completely funded from this Watchmen program established within and throughout their communities. Of course, the emergency management agencies is the cornerstone, as the fire department and the police department and search and rescue teams, because they're all encompassing in disasters, as which we have increasingly more throughout our country. And therefore, we need to train not just the first responders that are at the state-of-the-art facilities of the Federal Management Agency, but the citizens themselves, directly where they live. Because if there is an attack within that city, those citizens need to have the information to save and protect their own city. Now let's get us back to the funding of all the dollars that will take care of the rebuilding efforts that needs to take place. No longer will you need to declare a city or a state a disaster area to the federal government. Now you can wait for those dollars, but you have a reserve of revenue right at your disposal to take care of the needs on your own. Now, the benefits, they go on and on in regards to this Watchmen program. Not only is it free of charge for the federal FEMA, Homeland Security, various agencies, the CDC, the police, the fire department, search and rescue teams, and other job fairs that will rent out the facilities to establish their affairs where these citizens are. This new industry is free of charge. The federal management agencies don't pay a single dollar, nor do the city, nor do the state, nor do the federal government. The corporations, they sponsor it throughout, and the dollars that are generated, the new revenue, also funds other programs within, including the personnel that works at all of these facilities, where you will have doctors and nurses volunteering their services, and some of these facilities will be open on a 24-hour basis. Again, it is portable. That means if there is a disaster, they can be moved and placed where the citizens move to serve the citizens within that disastrous area. As an example, with Sandy and throughout New Jersey, where they were complaining that they didn't have the food and the other services that they needed, including gasoline. Well, these facilities, they also come with renewable energy service stations. That's right, portable service stations. Think of it, 10,000 set up across the nation. This foundation, this renewable energy structure, built within a year's time. Now all we need, of course, is to come on board You need to establish Chuck Thompson as an employee with the Emergency Management Agency within your city and state, as well as others across the nation, where I would simply be an unpaid employee representing these economic job training, information, emergency management facilities, selling it directly to the corporations throughout the country. Bless me to be an employee, whereas I can establish communications with the media and having press conferences in all of the major cities to generate the publicity, the funds, the donated dollars from the corporations of Home Depot, Lowe's Department Store, Sears, and Target. It only take a couple of these city-wide publicity media campaigns to set up these facilities free of charge. No new tax dollars need to be raised, no services cut, no new spending bill, no federal dollars, no stimulating plan. It simply will be sponsored by the corporations, and it will provide all the revenues that the emergency management agencies need throughout every city and state within the union. I'm looking forward, sir, to giving you the detailed presentation, and I'd like to establish that meeting with you in Florida, as well as others, especially your colleagues throughout the country, and having these meetings set up, whereas we can establish 1,000 per month. That's right. It only takes a couple of days to set up these portable renewable energy facilities where all of the local and federal agencies work side by side and communicate together. This is what was lacking in 9/11. This is what is lacking in every disastrous situation, even to this late date, where the police knows what the fire department knows, and the search and rescue teams knows what they know, and Homeland Security knows what the State Department knows, what the FBI knows, what the CDC knows, and everyone knows what's going on in the ground, because all of the news agencies will be embedded within these facilities, and you will be able to see firsthand what the fire department, the police department, and those employees lost their lives because of lack of communication that still does not exist today, but will be established throughout the Watchmen program. I'm looking forward, sir, to working with you and setting up these emergency economic job training, emergency management centers. Please give me a direct line at 626-243-8200, chuck@worldemergency.com.